Father Paul, Father Joseph, Dr. Gore, Professor Govardhan, 16th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Lord said, Abhayam sattva sanshuddhi jnana yoga vyavasthiti danam damascha yajnascha swadhyayasthaparjavam ahimsa satyam krodha tyaga shantir vaishunam daya vaishvu abhidam. To know the exact nature of human behavior is like painting an ocean. I think I will be taking 25 minutes. Okay? So to know the exact nature of human behavior is like painting an ocean with currents and undercurrents, seas and gulfs, thousands of islands and billions of fishes. And the alliteration of D in my dialogue, that is understanding the dynamics from drone to Dronacharya, it's not about dwelling into the dynamics, but just to unfold about the existing reality. Are we really treading on utopian path? What exactly can be done with this typical fraternity called teachers? And being a psychologist, I will be focusing more on person, not on prudence and the philosophy. Father Joseph had a very interesting observation for the teacher sitting in the front row with our wisdom hair. Thank you. So now I'm 52, so great. 30 years back when I started teaching, I was more handsome. Thank you. So when I started teaching 30 years back with a government medical college, that used to be my course called Introduction to Psychology for the OT and PT program. And then the class used to have for about 180 minutes. So even though for a very interesting, young, handsome bachelor teacher then, to have this 180 minutes module was something very taxing. But then I used to take efforts to make my class more interesting, more entertaining, more edutaining, and again the so-called in what you call in the Bloom's taxonomy about, the three patterns of affective, cognitive and psychomotor abilities. Again, and I was very new as a teacher 30 years back. And after that 120 minutes, again, interestingly, the class used to be like this, but the door for the students used to be from the back side. So after that 160 minutes, one girl used to come wearing heels, which was very unlikely for a girl of the medical college to wear the high heels. And she used to enter my class, tuck, 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 tuck. And for a new teacher who was handsome and who was experimenting with the pedagogy of teaching, again, don't read between the lines. So the interesting case was she used to come after that 160 minutes in that 20 minutes module, and she used to sit in one class. I will change her name. And I said, Preeti, you are late only by 160 minutes. She used to look at me, used to give me a very dirty look for complete 1 second, and she used to say, sir, you are very boring. I cannot bear you more than 20 minutes, and that is the reason I come 160 minutes late in your class. A teacher who was experimenting, a teacher who wanted to understand how to make the class more informative, that was a very big academic culturally shock for me. And then again, as a novice teacher with no wisdom here, sir, again, I did chop her to pieces. I gave her bad internals. I did see to it that how she will be exposed to the difficult of the questions. And then again, I was more curious to understand how I can humiliate her. But over the years of these 32 years, I have realized teaching is not the experiment to be conducted on the template where we have to fill the formats either of the CBSE or the AICT, where the teaching plan is being produced by someone, prepared by someone, and we as a templates machine, we have to just execute the same pattern. So in this module of mine, in the small discussion, I will be more interested to the dialogue with you. Chhod ghosla bahar aaya. Chhod ghosla bahar aaya, dekhe डाले dekhe पात और पत्ते जो करते हिलमिल करते हैं आपस में बात माँ क्या मुझको उड़ना आया नहीं चुरुंगन तू भरमाया छोड़ घोंसला बाहर आया देखी डाली देखे पात और पत्ते जो करते हिलमिल करते हैं आपस में बात माँ क्या मुझको उड़ना आया नहीं चुरुंगन तू भरमाया. So just because you have the typical tag of the BA degree with you, or might be in my engineering curriculum, they have done their master's program and then they have done their PhD, are they entitled to be the teachers? And then again in this basic changing dynamics, we will be more curious to understand what role of the human factor will play in this changing pedagogy of teaching, not in the NEP 2020, but again for the years to come. आमे खलम संचरताम घनानाम छाया मदस्सानुगताम निषेव्य उद्वेजिताम वृष्टि विराश्रयन्ते शृंगाणि यक्षाणि तपवन्ति सिद्धा. So all of you, when I say you are committed teachers, fundamental question remains, what exactly we are going to explore in this lab called life, lab called personal life, and lab called template of the objectivity of education profession. I am least interested. So in today's kaleidoscope of my topic, I will be not focusing on CBSE. I will be not focusing on the Bloom's taxonomy. I will be not speaking about the teaching learning pedagogy. I will not speak about the PO and the COs. But then we will be more interested to understand about this man as a woman, as a teacher, what is being expected. Are they expecting too much out of us? And if they are expecting too much out of us, is it going to kill our teaching instinct or the teaching abilities, what we will be aiming for? Friends, to know the exact nature of human behavior is like painting an ocean, with currents and undercurrents, seas and gulfs, thousands of islands and billions of fishes. So even in this particular auditorium of the 200 people, even though I am addressing this one audience, all of you have different personalities, different idiosyncrasies, different eating habits, different food patterns, different ability to understand, to pursue your education per se. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. Yoga karmasu kaushalyam. These are not the typical jargons just to follow when we go for a teaching. But again, let me tell you, I will not name the school. I work with NIT as a teacher like you. I only teach engineering students. One of the boy from the school of the 4th standard, he kissed another boy. And the case was referred to me by the ethical committee of the particular school, because they said that this is, our school counselors will not like to go for this particular pattern. So can you go for the hypnosis for a particular boy? This was something unethical for a boy for the 4th standard. We never wanted to understand the layers of the typical sexuality and the precarious puberty. But the mandate by CBSE to have the self-help group for the kids who are not attuned with the binary dynamics and the 4th standard, all rubbish. But then in this case, when the boy was referred to me, the boy and his mother came, and with the typical SOP, we just wanted to understand what must have happened. There was no need for me to pass a value judgment, and again, it was as easy or it was any other case. The boy looked at me. The boy was in 4th standard. He looked at me. He said, "Sir, छोड़ दो ना, गलती हो गई, आपको भी मालूम है. आप हमारे होटल में आइए, जिंदगी भर आपको मुफ्त में खाना खिलाएंगे." The boy in 4th standard, and again, it was not a typical cultural shock, and I was very sure the mother was very timid, she was very scared, she was very God-fearing, she must have not tutored the boy. But the boy of 4th standard was exposed to that type of dynamics where he knew the importance of the typical recognized role as a stakeholder, where he realized that yes, the counselor can also be managed. And that was the pattern where I realized, again, I teach in engineering colleges, and you know, like the students, the way they will look at me, and I work for the ministry, so I don't work only for my institute. I go to many institutes, irrespective of the domain areas, from hotel management to MBA program to eugenics to cryogenics to that of choreography also. And the interesting part is, students all the time, they know that they are the stakeholders. If in case, might be if you catch them going for some indulging so-called the typical non-appropriate behavior during exam, they will just look at you. "Sir, do you know what you are doing?" They will look at me. Gone are the days of the students coming to the, I am very happy that again till 10th standard when the students are there with the schools, they are very happy, vibrant, ready to spread the wings. But when these students come to engineering college, I don't know the other colleges, but across India, these students from the 7th standard, they have learned only how to bubble their JEE paper at Sri Chaitanya Narayana or other typical institutes. So most of the time, the students, by the time when they come, last year, we had to install mirrors in the classrooms. Like, you know, police stations, there is a mirror, no? Maza Ganvesh theek ahe na. So that mirror was because we found that out of that 650 students, 188 students had their weight was 100 plus. These students whose chronological age was 17, their weight was 100 plus, not interested for any other activity, not that they were only playing PUBG or the Counter-Strike, but the case was they have learned to bubble the JEE paper, And then here they have realized that life exists. And again, they have come to us because they have missed the bus of IITs. They have missed the bus of the NIT Warangal, NIT Trichy. So they were here. And so 4 years in engineering education, these students were just pushing or pulling the so-called pattern of completing assignments. Now, the changes are not very different at the educational pattern in the school also. Gone are the days like when we said, like the teachers were committed, teachers were dedicated, teachers took interest. But then I was talking to Mukta ma'am while coming. I was conducting a workshop of the CBSE teacher school in Hyderabad. And when the management left, the school teacher said, "Do you know, sir, what is the tagline of our school?" I said, "What?" "We also teach." The tagline of the school was, "We also teach." So interestingly, she was condescendingly sarcastic and supercilious. She said, "Sir, we generate some 16 forms. How many students were present, how many students were absent, what was the typical basic code, you did go for that." And again, stealing her 2 points, most of the teachers, they have to obey the 2 parallels, trying to fill the forms of the CBSE and trying to please the school management. So now when we believe what Gandhiji believed in Nai Talim, what Socrates, Pluto, Hammurabi, they did speak about understanding education. Vidya nama narasya rupam adhikam prachanna guptam dhanam. Vidya bhoga kari yasha sukha kari vidya guru nam guru. So now when we really want to understand this education pattern, are we as teachers are losing our control on the education pedagogy? Are we only becoming the templates or the typical format, what we call about, is there a data type mismatch? What the management believes, how much fees they are generating, and the complete pattern what they are just going for. My immediate neighbor, he takes tuition classes, is a regular faculty with one of the very coveted tuition class. His salary is 4,30,000 per month. And he teaches 10th, 11th, 12th, 3 classes of physics. The job profile is done. And all the time, the way he enjoys the demigodly status from the typical education pattern, it's either the quota factory or the typical institutes I will not name in Nagpur. One of them has come up in front of my VNIT. There, thousands of students flock as if they are the birds in the morning. And interestingly, they only learn to bubble one basic pattern. But then, most of you and very minority few, how many men teachers are there? Please raise the hands. Oh, they are not even in minority. They are 0.001%. Interestingly, why? Is it just because the Indian banking personnel selection or the PSI, STI profiles give them bigger salary? Is it that only in the school curriculum, a computer science teacher and the maths teacher are the male teachers? Or is it that most of you are better teachers, that's why you are here? Or is it that tumcha kai boa, tumcha ta double engine hai? Double engine means you are not the primary bread earner, but then your husband is working somewhere, and for a quality time pass, you are here to teach. Please. So now the basic pattern is when all of us, we are here to understand the basic rule of education. My focus is only on you as a teacher, as a person. All of us, we are different individuals. Let us accept that. For example, Abranil is one who can organize such a beautiful conference. Some people can get patents. Some people can write research papers in SCI, Scopus or ADB. Some people can go for industry institute interaction. But then to teach in a classroom has been demeaned so much, unfortunately, over the decades, that just teaching is, like there is a typical narrative, oh, wo sirf class leta hai. Arey, we are paid for taking classes. And who else other than you will like to ponder upon, to understand what exactly, how you will be doing your class in a very unfolding manner, where you will ask students to bloom, where you don't even get a chance to fill your roll numbers, roll number 1, roll number 32, roll number 56. Gone are the days that they will be having the personal bilateral dynamics. I was conducting a workshop in one of the places, again in South India, Ramgundam. And then there was a very puny teacher. Of course, it's nothing about the personality. But with a cranky voice, I should not have typical value judgment. I could see that she must not be the bad teacher. And typical local RJ station, radio jockey station, were rewarding her as the best teacher for last 8 years. I was quite surprised. And just after the 3 days of my workshop, even she opened up with me, and then I said, ma'am, what is the secret? That how come you are getting this best teacher award? She said, it's very easy. When I enter the class on the first day, I come here on the dais, stand in front of the typical podium, and I just say, देख लूंगी, तुम्हारे internal marks मेरे हाथ में है. So, देख लूंगी, तुम्हारे internal marks मेरे हाथ में है becomes the tagline where teacher used her power not as a wisdom and the knowledge, but just to see to it how she can dominate and dictate the pattern. Friends, post-COVID, all of us as a teacher community, unfortunately, I have realized teacher as a fraternity, we are very hardworking. We are very learning oriented, and I appreciate all female teachers. The way they manage the typical life balance between their professional and personal life, but even male teachers for that matter. When we come out of the classroom, we are spineless, subservient, weak individuals, as if we have committed something wrong. I will not name some colleges or the schools, their salary is 25K per month. So now when the college or the school gives the salary of 25, like in my VNIT, for the research scholars, we give a monthly stipend of 45K. And now teacher is expected to engage 8 periods, 6 periods per day, have to complete all the basic formalities, to go for n number of activities, and to have this particular pattern of 25K, how it's going to have influenced their basic things. So when my basic philosophy for the today's course is, all of you, and again, like when Sir said that yes, majority excluding the wise wisdom guys, all of you are in late 40s or early 40s. Another 50 years you are going to stay on this planet. There is a very interesting book written by Yuval Noah Harari. You must have heard the book, The Brief History of Tomorrow, the Homo Deus and Homo Sapien. So the Brief History of Tomorrow says, all of us and our generation, might be the Rohan's generation or might be the generation after 20-30 years, are going to stay on this planet for 150 years. So if we are not committing suicide and if we are going to stay on this planet for 150 years, you will retire at the age of 60. For another 80 years, what you are going to do with your life? How many times you will divorce and marry the same person? How many times you will go for the typical pattern wherein you will go to the marriage of your great grandson? Friends, it is beyond that basic pattern of not fulfilling the basic template, but have you realized that basic tagline, what gives me happiness while I am teaching? Don't tell me the theoretical jargon. उन्नति की चरम सीमा की ओर हेतु मैं पढ़ाता हूँ, या बच्चों के सुप्त गुणों को मूर्त रूप देने हेतु मैं शिक्षक बनाऊँ, सब फोकनाड़. Focknard is something like which is all jargons. The thing is, now at the age of 35, another 25 years, if you are trying to make your trajectory more cultural oriented, more learning oriented, what you are supposed to do. Unfortunately, NEP on one side speaks about basic theoretical assumptions. All the time we blindly follow the Finland model. The population of Finland is not even a crore. And here where we are 140 crore, and even we have the basic thing of, again, the amenities which are not up to the mark, even for the CBSE schools, they expect us to study resilience, disaster management, soft skill, communication skill, language lab, 6 languages, patent marking, environmental studies, safety concerns and hazards, trying to excavate the room if there is a disaster in 7 seconds. Boys or the girls, when they are there only to understand, just to know what the topic remains, the focus is, it's not to follow the template what the CBSE says. Of course, 80% that they will be allowing you, not allowing you to go for that, but 20% what exactly is your contribution to make your classroom a glamorous program. Again, let me tell you, teacher not necessarily should be lively, interesting, extrovert, vibrant. Teacher has a role to play in the classroom. Teacher has a typical basic pattern where he will act as a mentor. But then, how many of you, even though you are teaching in CBSE, have registered for the PhD program? How many of you, even though you are not from the background of psychology, have registered the master's program of psychology with IGNOU? How many of you, you have learned 3 skills which are not related to your program, even though there is no mandate to go for the NPTEL program or the Coursera program? How many of you, joined the Coursera programs and updated your knowledge? One. Okay, I'm very happy. Which program, madam, did you go? Oh, Mukta madam, very interesting. What did you go?
Writing your first novel.
Writing your first novel. Interesting. Yes, ma'am?
Learning to learn.
Learning to learn. Okay, yes, ma'am. Academic writing. See, the thing is, vade jayate tadva bodha. When all of us think alike, no one thinks. But when this new beginning of the 3 new teachers say that we have learned something, if I ask you, which new 3 skills did you learn post-COVID? Excluding baking dalgona cake? Or, like excluding going for something which was not expected for that. The classroom teaching expects you not to complete the syllabus. Classroom teaching expects you not to share the typical WhatsApp, Instagram group कि आज टीचर ने क्या किया, किसका बर्थडे था. Again, it is not about having the typical WhatsApp group of in-laws and the maternal side. But then, what was your contribution to make your learning more rewarding? So when I say Eklavya, Dronacharya and that of drone technology speaks about the surveillance. Are we here for surveillance? Are we here for the self-growth? How many of you allow your students to be your Facebook friends? How many of you have the ethical issues, like if I go to Goa and if I wore appropriate beachwear, and if the student, again, the case was referred to me, it was not from the college, from the school again. The interesting case was, the boy commented on the female teacher, wow, looking hot. And then again the case was referred to me. But then when we went for the content analysis, the same dialogue he had uttered for his father. Father was wearing a very dapper blazer for one of the concerts. He said, Papa looking very hot. So the jargons of language and the way the language is changing, we are not blaming them. The thing is, when students are diminishing their interest in education, when students are only trying to fulfill the marks and getting the marks. For example, I run a course called India Studies. That course revolves around the Indian science, Bollywood, what is happening in India. But the interesting case is the parents say, ki, sir, course to acha hai, but please don't allow my ward to go to Kalmeshwar, Kamthi or Wathoda to collect the primary data. Now, in this typical pattern of the educational pedagogy, it will be essential for us to understand there cannot be the template, there cannot be the path. Students will be changing very fast. DSM-4 says pornography, education, entertainment are the big hypermedia buzzwords. Student spends 6 hours 70 minutes per day on the mobile. 6 hours again is something, a big chunk of that particular pattern. Interestingly, we have also found there is an agency called Gokhale Institute and Media Studies. Earlier they found, can you tell me who are the people who derive maximum job satisfaction? They are not the Yashoda Group teachers, Yashoda Group doctors with the DM. They are not the scientists with the ISRO. They are not the faculties from the IITs and the NITs. But in India, according to 2018 also, pre-COVID, the people as the community who derive maximum job satisfaction were the pre-primary teachers. Because they knew that they were not earning money for per se as a profession, even though they were knowing, I have seen the efforts what Neeru ma'am used to put for my both kids. A personal connect with the student and having not just the pat, or it might be a trivial one, non-mundane dialogue, was something the flaring memories for my kids. I still remember my daughter used to tell me a story, what type of sari she used to wear and how she had a different pattern of that. So might be these are very mundane from the very bird's perspective. But when there is a darkness around and the tunnel is deep, and when you are holding a candle, please remember that light what you spread is not for the community, not for the country, but for the class where you believe in. I will wind up my particular dialogue with a small story from Chicken Soup for the Soul. I hope all of you must have the books in your school library. If you don't have, please buy the books. There was a teacher called Matika. Matika was young, good looking, non-experienced teacher. There was a class of second standard. Matika realized that the students have become very, very notorious. They have become very, very mischievous. They were pulling legs like anything. And Matika realized that the classroom was stinking. In that stinking classroom, there was a boy called Peter. Whenever she used to punish the boy, rather than saying sorry, Peter used to say, "Thank you, madam, for correcting me." So this was very interesting. Rather than saying sorry, he used to say, "Thank you, madam, for correcting me." Matika went back. She was not a psychologist. She was not a counselor. She was not an educationist. She wanted to do something for the class. Went back on Saturday, came on Monday. She said, "Boss, these are the small sheets what I am distributing to you. Please write whatever good things you think about the other boy on this particular sheet of paper and give it back to me." So one for Surendra, one for Raju Bhaiya, one for Neeru, one for Mukta, one for and Abra, and one for me. And the sheets were distributed. And again, when that sheets were collected by Matika, next day, for that small class, she distributed that sheets to everyone. Each of them, they bloomed with the happiness. "Oh, I never knew that these boys, they love me. Oh, they don't know that the way I am so precious." The class bloomed beautifully as if it was a typical psychological workshop. Again, Matika left the school, got married, have her upgradation. He left the place also. Teachers are like lighthouses. You know, like students come, they spend some time with us, they go. Like pal do pal ka saath hamara pal do pal ke yarane hain. Or for example, you know, like yatha kashtam cha samay yatam mahadado. Like the two wooden planks on the typical wooden sea of ocean, they come. And again, after 20 back, she wanted to meet her old ailing parents. She went back to New York. While coming back, her mother said, "Oh, Matika, do you know? Peter's mother," she called. "Oh, Peter, thank you, teacher, for correcting me. How is he?" She inquired. And mother said, "Oh, Peter was killed in Vietnam War, and we have to go for a funeral." For a young teacher to go for a funeral of a ward was something very painful, self-defeating. It was raining cats and dogs, and the handsome Peter was lying in that coffin. When she was sprinkling the holy water, one of the co-cadet came, stood next to her. "Madam, are you Peter's 8th grade mathematics teacher?" She was quite surprised. She was not intelligent, she was not good, she was not best, she was not a counselor. "Yes, Peter used to say many good things about you." So this was something very interesting. Peter's parents said, "Matika, we'd like to show you something." And when they went in the praying hall, they found the piece unfolded 1,000 times, turned yellow. They said this piece of paper was found when he was there at the Vietnam War. His coke friend said, "Boss, that piece of paper, I got it laminated, it's in my drawing room. That piece of paper, I have pasted in my wedding album." And all of them, they said, "Oh, that piece of paper, it saved our life." Please remember, life is not about template and dronacharya and typical drone technology. The life starts with you. Life is going to end up with you. So this journey of 40 minutes, when it speaks about the self-excellence, it's not trying to proving others what you are, but performing to make your life more happy, more harmonious, and more rewarding per se. Thank you very much.